Welcome to episode 9 of Millennial Real Life Budget Review. Today we are taking a look at a project coordinator living in San Francisco who is currently bringing in $5,200 per month but has close to $50,000 in debt. Let's take a look at her budget, her financial goals, and see how we can work things around to hit those goals. I am so stoked about today's video because it is kindly sponsored by Taylor Brands, a company that helps entrepreneurs and business owners create and start businesses very simply and easy to manage, all in one simple, easy to follow process. And the reason why I'm bringing up Taylor Brands is because we are working with a millennial who is a project coordinator, and I can quickly see some exciting ideas where we can translate that skill set into a side hustle or part-time gig, or maybe potentially a full-time gig using the help of Taylor Brands. But let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on with this particular millennial's budget. Okay, so obviously living in a place like the Bay Area, there are going to be a lot of major living expenses that can be very expensive for most. Now, I mentioned that this person is a project coordinator, but the biggest thing that they struggle with financially is paying off their credit cards and not being tempted to use them again when they want to pay some of it down. Now, she mentions her top 2 to 3 financial goals includes paying off 80% of my credit card debt this year and then focusing on the student loan next year. So she's got a mix of both credit cards and student loans. I asked how much they have in their emergency fund, and she said if the investments count a little over $3,000. Now later when we were emailing back and forth, the investments are actually around $5,000. But we don't include investments in the emergency fund. Emergency fund money is liquid cash that you have set aside in a separate savings account. This should not be locked up in investments or tied to your retirement whatsoever. So we're going to go ahead and start with a $0 emergency fund in this scenario. Now, they also mentioned that the biggest struggle that they are currently working on is unanticipated expenses. And this is where I think the emergency fund is really gonna help you out. So they said, for example, my car got broken into a few months ago. I also had a few unanticipated medical expenses this year. These things throw me way back. Don't worry, I got you. Let's go ahead and hop into your budget and see what's going on. Okay, already right off the bat, I can tell that this budget and the debt that you have is totally manageable, mainly because you're bringing in such a high amount of income every month. So $64,800 is what you're bringing in cash, and your debt is just under $49,000. Whenever I'm looking at debt totals, I'm looking for a 1-to-1 ratio or something less than that. So what I mean by that is, does your debt actually equal about roughly how much you bring in? And in your case, it's less than what you bring in. So this is totally doable. So I see that you have some credit cards here: American Express, Chase number 1, Chase number 2, Apple Card, Barclays, and then the student loans down at the bottom. So all of this is really manageable. I'm glad to see the American Express card is actually only at 8%. That's really good. We definitely want to address Apple and the Chase cards here. And so it looks like you have a 0% interest with Barclays. So I'm wondering if that's a personal loan that you took out. All right, now let's take a look at some of your fixed expenses. So right away, and this is something that I discussed with this person, I was like, where's your rent or your mortgage or utilities? And so what they told me is that they actually have their partner, their husband, will cover the rent agreement, and then she'll cover things like the groceries and the car lease, and that all evens out. I encourage you to really take a look at your budget and your finances holistically, including your partner. When you guys sit together and say, okay, this is how much we bring in, this is how much our expenses are, we also get to share some of that ownership with our financial obligations and goals. I'm hoping that you guys have similar financial goals, that you guys want to invest at the same pace or you want to buy the same things. You obviously have a ton of common expenses such as rent, utilities, groceries. I'm assuming maybe you guys share the car. So all of these things really need to be brought together so that we can take a look. Even if you have separate accounts, that's totally fine. If you have one, and she did tell me, they have one shared account in which they pay for those shared expenses. So in my mind, the budget really needs to come together and include his income as well and all of the expenses together. However, knowing that this is how you guys are doing it and you're keeping everything pretty much separate, I'm looking at your emergency fund as a separate entity as well. But when you guys come together, I really want you guys to take a look at that emergency fund together, which should include all of your basic monthly living expenses, including the rent, utilities, cell phone, your car, internet, and groceries. Basically everything that you already have here except for health and exercise. In a true emergency, you would definitely get rid of any kind of gym memberships and just focus on meeting those basic needs. So let's go ahead and figure that out because that's definitely step number one for you. All right, in this case, it is $1,785. It's clearly going to be more than that once we factor in rent and utilities, but that's exactly how much you need in order to operate every single month. So first, your emergency fund, we're gonna break it down into different goals, but we're going to do, I wanna show you exactly what this looks like. You need to aim for an emergency fund of 2 to 3 months of living expenses. So first, 2 months would roughly equal $3,500, and then 3 months would be $5,300. So we need to do goal 1, would be aiming for an emergency fund of $1,785. Goal 2 would be around $3,500, and then goal 3 is $5,300. After you get it up to around $5,000, stop saving for the emergency fund, and then we're going to redirect that money over into our debts. Now let me take a look at the rest of what you got going on here. And I'm just looking at planned right now, not what you actually spent, because the plan is what we're going to be doing moving forward. So actually, this doesn't look too bad. Restaurants only $100 a month, that's really good. How much was your groceries? Okay, including takeout. Yeah, but I definitely think that, well, I guess you could keep this together, but really takeout is going to be so much more expensive than eating at home. So I would really encourage you to keep those two things separate. Keep your grocery expenses separate and keep the restaurants separate. That way you know and you can track them separately and see exactly how much you are spending on things like takeout. So this is okay for me. The fun stuff looks okay. Emergency fund of $200. So you already have intentions to start setting aside money for the emergency fund, investing $200 and the vacation fund of $100. So right away I can already see some areas that we can move. So let's take a look at, you've got some total monthly expenses here. Actually, this really needs to be your total monthly expense, actual monthly payment. Yeah, it looks like you're just putting way too much money towards the debt right now. So we really need to lower that and really focus on freeing up money for your emergency fund. Also, if you are thinking, okay, I can't possibly do that, I want to tell you about a solution that I thought of for you because of your job title. Project coordinator, it can go into a variety of different industries, and you also have a skill set that a lot of clients need, which is why I think it would be really exciting for you to take the opportunity to set up a VA business, a virtual assistant business. And I'm sure you can work your inner network and talk to people and say, hey, I'm offering this as a service. Would you or somebody you know be interested? I think if you can set up a VA business and farm out that project coordinator skill set, you could really bring in a lot of extra dollars to help you pay off this debt and hit this emergency fund goal even faster. And that's why I'm really excited to tell you about Tailor Brands today. Okay, so Taylor Brands helps you form and create a business all in one place. Rather than piecemealing, finding a logo, getting a business name, running down to City Hall, trying to register that, and doing all of the things, plus a website, Taylor Brands holds your hand every step of the way, and as a new business owner, you'll really appreciate and love that support. So whether you're service-based, like a project coordinator offering VA services, or a product-based business, such as a pottery artist, Taylor Brands is going to help you every step of the way. I really wished that I would have used a service like Taylor Brands back when I was forming Debt-Free Millennials, because this would have saved me a ton of time and money. Not only can they help you set up a logo and a website and merch, they can also help you form an LLC, which is so amazing. Usually you have to go to somebody completely separate in order to form an LLC, but this is what makes Taylor Brands so special. An LLC, or a limited liability company, is a popular choice among small business owners because it helps you protect your personal assets. It also helps you establish credibility and reduce your liability. This brings an air of professionalism to your business that helps customers like, know, and trust that you are going to deliver on your product or service. I think what makes Taylor Brands stand out to me is not only do they take care of the front end, such as the website and the logo and the merch, they also take care of the back end, making sure that your business is set up legitimately through an LLC. If you are feeling called to turn that business idea into a legitimate profession, click on the link in my description box below to check out Taylor Brands. I think this is a fantastic company if you are wanting to start that side hustle idea or start that legitimate business. This is your chance. If you're feeling called, hit that link for Taylor Brands below. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce her credit card payments here back down to the minimums to see what I got going on, what I can work with. Okay, so she was really going hard on all of her credit cards, but actually, let me back this up, because look what's going on here, and this is an error, is that you're putting $1,000 towards the American Express, $1,000 towards Chase, $400 towards Chase number 2, and this is really not effective because you're not choosing one debt to take care of. Rather than kind of breaking out extra income across multiple debts, what you're going to do is you're going to take all of that money and pull it in and focus on one specific debt. When you pick one specific debt, whether it's the highest interest rate or the lowest outstanding balance, you are going to make a ton of headway. You're going to pay off that card very quickly, which is going to be a motivating factor for you to move on and pay the next card off. And so the way that you're doing it now, I think is really going to burn you out, and you're going to see very slow progress, especially because things like Chase number 1 still has close to $15,000 on that card. It does appear that you were trying to knock out Chase number 2 because that only has a total outstanding balance of $487. But regardless, this approach is not the way to do it. So we're going to actually back this down to the minimums for now, because your biggest struggle is the unanticipated expenses. Things like getting your car broken into or medical bills, those are true emergencies where you're like, I need the money, and you didn't have it set aside. So doing the foundational work right now, the emergency fund is 100%. People always ask me this, should I pay off the debt or do I focus on the emergency fund? Focus on the emergency fund. That will always, always, always be my answer. And that is why we're gonna bring this down to the minimum payment. We just freed up $1,280, $1,200, $1,300, and I didn't even touch any of your other living expenses here or your fund money in order to do that. So if you can truly put $1,300 towards your emergency fund, let's see, I said your goal should be around $5,000. Let's call it $5,000 just to keep it round. If you could put $1,300, then you have your starter emergency fund built up in less than 4 months. Now, if you could go ahead and start generating money from a side hustle, like a VA business, which I totally think you could do, let's say you could bring in an extra $500 a month. So then what we could say $6,000, 500, 1780. Let's call it 1,800. 1,800. in less than 3 months, you could have that starter emergency fund put together if you were generating an extra $500 in income. And we didn't have to touch anything from your living expenses or your budget, which is fantastic. So aim for about the next 3 to 4 months, we are just digging, we are putting everything into that emergency fund. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and zero out your investing because we're stopping all investing right now. Oh, you already had $300 here. Okay, sweet. So, or $200 here. So 200 plus here we go. So if you had the $1,600 already freed up, because what I did was I zeroed out your investing. We're going to take this $200, $1,800 here, $1,800 plus, if we did 18 plus 500, if you had extra money from a side hustle business of $2,300, less than 3 months, 2 months. 2 months, you would have that completely done. That is very, very intentional, and that's exactly what I want you to focus on first. So my notes here for you is $5,000 in emergency fund fast. Okay, so you're going to make minimum payments on everything until this is built up, because that's going to prevent you from getting into those moments where you have those unanticipated expenses. Now we are anticipating it. We know that there's going to be another emergency on the horizon. It's inevitable. It always happens. Let's make sure that we have $5,000 set aside in a separate high yield savings account. I definitely recommend Ally Bank. They have been amazing. They are paying out over 3.5% now. I want to say they're 3.6% in interest. This is amazing. Sign up, make sure that money is over there, and set up automatic contributions to help you stay on top of it. Okay, so that's goal number 1, is the emergency fund. Then once that's done, look how much money you still have to put towards the debt. You have $1,800 or $2,300 if you were generating that extra money from your side hustle business. And let's take a look at the debt reduction calculator here. So I went ahead and put in all of your loan amounts, including the outstanding balances, the interest rate, and just the minimum payment. And then I put the balance date as of the date of this recording. So all together, your minimum monthly payments are $1,215. Now, if we were to add $1,800 to that, oh my gosh, we could put $3,000 towards your debt. This is amazing. Now, if you were focused, again, you told me your financial goal was to pay off your credit card debt first. This is incredible because you could easily pay off that second Chase card of $487 in 1 month, easy. You're gonna be done in 2 years. This is amazing. So the first year, you're paying off 1, 2, 3. You're paying off all of these big credit cards here. And then after that, you're really going to be attacking the American Express card, because that one does have a bigger balance, and then Barclays and the student loan debt. So you're gonna be done with this in 2 years' time. And that's focused on the highest interest rate first. So if you were to snowball this, let's see how we could change this by focusing on the smallest outstanding balance. Ooh, I almost like the snowball method for you, because I think this is going to be very encouraging. You're going to have the Apple card and the Chase card paid off in the same month. Barclays gets paid off the next month. In 6 months, you'll have American Express card paid off. Your federal student loan debt. Now, this one we could just take out temporarily because of that $10,000 student loan forgiveness. That's still kind of up in the air, because it looks like you'd only be on the hook for $416. And if that gets canceled, then boom, that goes down to a zero balance. Then we're gonna be focusing on that Chase card for the next year-ish, and probably even less than that if we take out the student loan. Actually, let's just go ahead and take out student loan and see what that is. Oh my gosh, this is even better. So you're gonna have all of your debts paid off in less than a year, and then that last student loan will take you 1.5 years. Boom, done. I love this for you. I think this is so helpful because you have so much money that can be freed up to go towards that debt. I also want you to check out, this is, by the way, the debt reduction calculator from vertex42.com. I'll link it in the description box below. It's free, a free template for you to use. The payment schedule tab is going to tell you exactly what amounts, the exact amounts that you should be putting towards each debt. So see how this is kind of stair-stepping your payments. So you're going to break out next month in April, you're going to break out your payment exactly as the amounts are shown here. And then you're done. Like, just follow this and you are good to go, and you'll be debt free by September of 2024. Another thing that I didn't talk about here is she mentioned that they have a car lease of $600 and they just leased out that car last October. So they're on the hook for another 3 years. They don't anticipate buying that car. Car leases to me are a luxury for the rich. This is something where somebody who has millions of dollars can say, hey, I want to rent out this Beamer for the next year just for the fun of it and put it back. Like, they're looking at it as a fun experience and not so much as their daily driver. So I really don't like the car lease. You've already signed up for it, so it is what it is unless you think you can get out of it early. What I would do, because I know you're going to be debt-free so soon, after that, I would really focus on freeing up that $3,000, or maybe you're not doing $3,000, maybe it's $1,500, freeing up that money to set aside and build up a sinking fund towards a replacement car, and buying something that's within your means and something that you are buying outright in cash. That way you know, like, the car is mine, this is ready to go, and I'm owning it. That is how I would address your car lease. Everything else looks really great, and I think as you build up or pay down that debt over time, there are some ways that you can increase your fund money budget as a reward or mini milestone as you go through your debt-free journey. Also, I think if you really want to make even more headway, you could totally open up a side hustle, side business as a virtual assistant and offer that project coordinator skills to various clients in maybe specific industries that you really are passionate about, or industries that you've already worked within. And if you want to take those project coordinator skills and turn it into a legitimate business, definitely check out Taylor Brands. I think this is a fabulous all-in-one solution that is going to get you set up very quickly so you can start generating the extra revenue that is really going to elevate your finances and really hit those financial goals even faster. The link to check out Taylor Brands is in the description box below. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Millennial Real Life Budget Review.